Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the Dog Tribe Podcast. It's been a while since we put out an episode. I think it was last June. We decided to build this studio. It was upstairs, and there was too much light and not enough noise control. And so we decided to move it. And then it just gets so busy with everyone's lives between vacationing, which is most of what Mariah does.
No, just started vacationing.
Just started vacationing. And so it's been a while since we put out an episode. But the next episode that we wanted to put out was obviously talking to you guys, talking to the people that have helped build the company over the last 5 years. Obviously, that's you guys. So I'm going to go around and introduce everyone and then ask some questions as we get moving along. On today's podcast, we have Mariah Rivera, right? She's a Pup Start director. So Mariah started here years ago, right? 5 years ago?
Coming on 5 years.
Coming on 5 years. June, entry-level tech all the way to running your program. So you've done your time in boarding and daycare, training office. You did some Pup Start Classic last year, yeah?
Yep.
And then moving on to this role in Pup Start Plus, which is really running that department overall, right? And then running that whole division, which is really cool. And then we have Juliana Hassleberger. You got it right?
Yep,
Okay,
got it right.
Got it right.
I don't know if you spelled it right, though.
I think I got it right. I think you spelled it. And so Juliana joined the team right around the same time or longer, 5 years ago?
It'll be 6 years this year.
6 years?
Yeah, she was
Wow,
8 months
that's
ahead
cool.
of me.
Yeah. Yeah. So Juliana was very young when she joined the team. She was actually a client of ours. So I want to talk about that today and get your perspective of what you think now versus what you thought when you were a client and you first started off.
Yeah.
But Juliana was part of the local Boys and Girls Club, right? You were a counselor or?
Yeah, I was a counselor working in the summer with the kids and then did like after school stuff with them.
And at the time, we were all hanging out at the brewery down the street, having beer every day, watching Juliana walk by with like 20 kids around her. So I thought that was really funny. And then I'm like, oh, it's Maddie's mom.
Yep.
It's Maddie's mom. I could tell when she would walk by, she's like, yeah, I want to be one of those guys one day. But
Those are the vibes.
Yeah, those were the vibes, right? Yeah, but it worked out to 6 years, right? This summer, right? It's got to be this summer.
It'll be in November. Yeah, because I started in November of 2020.
Cool. A little bit for people to kind of understand, and this actually turns off a lot of people these days. I get emails all the time of like, Fabian, I want to join the team, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know, I want to be a trainer. I've done X, Y, and Z. And it's like, that's not how we do things here. You know, we want for people to start ground up, start entry level. And so you guys are actually our first people to ever really do that. I think you guys did our original tech training. And then we signed a contract a couple of years ago, right? Over 3 years ago now, for you guys to be here and really stay committed to what you're doing and help build the company. There's a level of skill acquisition that I think you guys could have benefited of during that time. And I was telling myself, like, if you can just keep these guys focused for a couple of years, they're going to be so good and so impressive at the end of that term, then I think that they can, you know, help build what we're doing, right? And so that's why I was excited to get you guys here on the podcast. Let's go around. Let's talk a little bit about everyone's background, how they got into dogs and stuff like that. Obviously, this could be a multiple episode thing because I know there's a lot to say. But starting off with Mariah, tell us a little bit about, you know, how you guys started with animals and then how you ended up at Found and done the whole thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, starting off as just like a little girl, I always loved animals. Watching Animal Planet with my dad every other weekend when I would go to his house. That's all we would do is watch Animal Planet, watch Pitbulls and Parolees, you know, watching
Pitbulls and Parolees?
Yep, Pitbulls and Parolees was our go-to show, them rehabilitating dogs and getting them homes and things like that. And so I always had a passion for animals. So I initially thought being a veterinarian was like the way to go. So after high school, even in high school, I did like projects going over like animal care, rescue and things like that. But yeah, so once I got into college, I went to the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. Animal science was going to be my major, and then pre-vet was my concentration. And then I quickly, within that first year, realized I don't think I want to be a veterinarian. I didn't want to do 4 more years of school. Also, just hearing all the like horror stories of being a veterinarian, I was like, yeah, you know, I don't think I want to help people and dogs in that way. So I was leaning more towards either dog training or working behind the scenes in the animal shelter environment, kind of helping dogs find their forever homes. But yeah, so after I graduated, or a little bit before I graduated, I put out applications, about 11 applications to animal shelters or dog handler positions. And Found was the only place that contacted me back, actually.
Really? Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Found was the only place that contacted me back. I mean, given, I
We
think.
get the people that nobody else wants.
Yeah, I guess
Not
so.
just-
No. Well, I think a lot of that had to do with me not having that much experience, because when I was in college, I did a 1 month long mentorship program. And that's just because COVID hit, so it couldn't be longer. They had to cut it short. And so, yeah, I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that I didn't have any background. And so I signed up for the entry-level position here at Found, and they contacted me back. And the manager at the time could see how passionate I was about what I wanted to do. And I talked a little bit about Celine, and I think she helped me a lot of it, because I had my own reactive dog and was really driven to like fix her because she was driving me crazy. And so, so then I came here, and then I started off from the ground up.
The rest is history, but save it for the rest of the episode.
Yeah.
There's a lot to talk about. All right, Jewel, so tell us, how did you get interested in dogs? And now you have a puppy Malinois you just got, right?
Yep.
Which I feel like is a very unique journey, and we've talked about it quite frequently. But yeah, tell us how you got into dogs, your passion. And I would say there's a group of people that get into dog training just because they think it's cool, versus there's like people that are like, love it, they love the animals, they love the dogs, they love what they do. I think that's you guys. Mm-hmm. And I see it with Maddie, you're a pit bull lover. Now you're going to be a Malinois lover. But yeah, so tell me your story.
Childhood wise, pretty similar to Mariah, was always interested in animal care and just learning more about them. And then, going into my teenage years and whatnot, I had like a senior dog with my mom, but that wasn't really anything. She just kind of existed. And then I started volunteering at our local city shelter, CACC, and would spend every Saturday there running play groups with all the other volunteers, taking all the dogs out and just kind of seeing that, these were the dogs who were in the most need of TLC and getting human care and contact and just getting them out and adopted. And that's where I met my current pit bull, Maddie. She's still with us. She's about 8 years old now. And I adopted her from the shelter, and I kind of bit off more than I could chew at the time and didn't realize how much of an issue she would be as far as like reactivity goes. She was, really intense on the leash, and I tried everything I could. I was very much in the positive only force-free community because that's what I was surrounded by at the shelter, and I sought out Found because I had taken every other avenue, and she did a whole board and train, and Fabian was actually one of her main trainers at the time, and I did a couple sessions with him, and that's just kind of what got me really into being kind of a handler, or what is it called when you were just being more of taking more interest in wanting to be more involved in training and being a trainer for my own personal dog. And then I was working with kids at the time, as Fabian mentioned, and I just kind of kept seeing the Found people around because I lived in the same neighborhood, and I was like, you know what, I really want to do that. Like, I got so interested in training my own dog and the rehabilitation process, and seeing from where she started off and to where she is now. And I just wanted to be able to provide that for more dogs and more families. So I reached out to Found, and same type of story as Mariah, where I got, hired as an entry-level tech and moved my way through all the departments until I got where I'm at now. And, now I'm a trainer.
Yeah. So I think that a lot of the times when we say like trainer, I feel like it's so different for us than it is for other people, just because I feel like we're building a different category of trainers, like here through the processes, through familiarization with general operations, how we run the business, how we develop trainers, also like how we teach people about husbandry, and then how important that is as it moves on. But like circling back on something you said, I didn't know I knew Maddie was from the shelter, but I know you got her from the volunteering there. So she was when you guys were doing the play groups, was it with, who's organizing the play groups at the time?
I believe it was Players for Pits.
Okay, Players for Pits.
And yeah, we would do every Saturday, we would do play groups, and Maddie, that's why she was pretty deceiving, because she was one of the play group regulars. Turns out after she got adopted, she wasn't as dog friendly as I thought.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
She's great now, no?
Like, she's okay. She's doing
9 out of 10.
fine. 9 out of 10.
She's 9 out of 10. She does.
She's made it a long way.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, for sure. Dogs Playing for Life was an organization. I mean, this was probably like 2015, 2016, maybe. I thought for some reason they were still running a program there, but a different organization. Cool. So let's talk about your earlier days as apprentices. Okay. I think, so when you guys first started at Found, what did you think about it then versus what do you think about it now? Obviously, we're now, for everyone listening, like as we're kind of building everything that we're building now, it's under Dog Tribe and Found. I don't think we were ever going to change the name for it because it's kind of become like a staple around here. I mean, it's been around for such a long time. And our work with pit bulls earlier on and everything was, I think, is still super important now. But what did you guys think about it working when you first started working with it till now? Like, what was your yeah?
I mean, I never had experience working with any dogs in this kind of environment. So at first, it was a little overwhelming, I would say. I think my very first week, someone had left me alone in group with dogs. And Juliana actually was the one who came to save me. But yeah, they had left me.
You guys still remember that? You still remember that? Yeah. She's like, oh my God, I think I know who you're talking about. I remember you were like pissed. I remember she's like, who left this lady in there?
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, man, it was.
Oh my God, I'm getting flashbacks. Maybe this podcast is a bad episode.
No,
It's a bad idea.
it was bad. I
No
was so
names
overwhelmed.
mentioned.
Yeah,
No names mentioned, but we weren't happy about it. I remember that. Yeah.
No, they left me, and I remember thinking, man, where is this person? They said they were gonna go clean kennels, and they haven't been back, and I'm here trying to. They were all friendly dogs, but they were just getting really riled up with one another, bullying this one dog, and I'm just there. And then one of my supervisors at the time just stood there watching me as it happened, and then left to go get Juliana instead of helping me. They left to go get Juliana, and then Juliana came in. You need help, and I was like, please, please come and help me.
Yeah,
These
what does
dogs
it
are
look
going.
like?
Yeah, but yeah, so it was a lot. But yeah, it's so much. I would say it's so much better now. I think.
You think it's easier now?
I think it's so much easier now. There's a lot more.
This is for anybody who's looking to join the company.
Yeah,
Everyone
way
thinks it was harder
easier.
back then, but it's easier now.
It's so much easier now, I think, especially now considering that the dogs have to have gone through a program before they get in. Because before,
It wasn't like
it
that.
wasn't like that. We didn't have the dogs going through a training program. They could just kind of come in, do an assessment, and they can just go straight into daycare or selective.
This was early COVID, right? This was like 2020.
This was right after COVID.
Yeah.
2021 was when I started.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was pretty intense. So now it's so much easier. Dogs have to go through a program, so we all know the dogs already. And then we have rules like there cannot be one person alone with the dogs in group, right? There has to be another person in there to help manage the dogs, which is very helpful. When before we didn't really have regulations like that. It was just like, all the dogs are friendly, you should be fine by yourself.
Right.
It's like,
Right.
yeah. So I would say it's come a long way.
Yeah.
What about you, Jules?
I feel like I've gone through 1,000 lifetimes here. Like, just because well, it's true. Like the amount of people that you work with and no longer work with and things like that. Because you go into it and you start off with people are in their senior roles and you think this is how it's going to be forever. And, we didn't really have like Mariah said, an established system. And we did, but it was a little bit less digestible than it is now. Right now there's a process, and it's a very clear process for everybody who comes into the facility. They have a certain goal in mind, and there are certain steps that you have to take in order to get to your goal. To where it was back then, it was more so just like, hey, I'm coming in here, this is what I ultimately want to do here, and it's just like, hopefully I get there. And luckily we both did, just because we stuck it out through the process of actually building the system and making sure that it was easier for everybody else coming after us.
I think a big part of that was hiring people into very specific roles is a really bad idea. And I think that was one thing that we changed during COVID, because there was a trainer, Lynn Gomez. She worked at you guys remember Lynn? You did CPR training with her?
Oh, yeah,
You guys remember Lynn?
yeah.
Lynn.
Yeah, sorry.
We did so she worked here for 2012 to not 12, maybe 13 to 16. And it was actually the tech system was her idea, because she got it from the Shed Aquarium. And then the Shed Aquarium, they have but it's a volunteer system. So basically volunteer level 1, 2, or 3. And so we implemented it back then, but then COVID kind of turned into like, we just reset everything, and we decided it was a good idea to start from scratch. But I think the thing that is new now, that is new as in like your guys' time here, is not hiring people directly into very specific roles, right? And I don't know why anyone does it. I mean, I'll say this till I'm blue in the face. Like, I don't know why anyone hires a dog trainer directly into a training role, because it's really hard to get to that point, right? I mean, we think about that. I think I just sent Mariah the link to the new Dog Tribe website yesterday, which if you haven't seen it, if you want to know what we're doing, go to dogtribe.com. It's up in, that's kind of our main area where we're listing all of our projects, what we do, our philosophies and stuff. But basically, it takes so long to build a trainer that really they become so valuable, then you like, why not partner with them? That's what you want to do, right? That's where like a whole system. So when they hire a trainer in, you can easily have issues in terms of like how they train. Do they have the right training skill? Do they believe the same things? You know, are they too harsh on the dogs? Are they too positive only? You know, like there's a whole mindset shift that you can't teach unless it's experienced, right? And I think in such a experience heavy industry, that's where we're forcing everybody to start at the very beginning. And I think that what we're pretty vocal about now is that what we do is a selection process. It is not a guarantee, right? And I think we're more obvious about it now. Like, it is a selection process. We're going to bring people in. And just because you want to be involved in dogs, it doesn't mean that you should be involved with dogs. Just because you want to be involved in dogs and become a trainer doesn't mean you're going to make a great trainer. And here for us is very challenging. I mean, you got when we look at the schedules, there are days where you guys are just like appointments, meetings, managing a team, etc. And that's a unique skill set. You have to build over time, right? You can't do it. And hiring managers and trainers, we have always seen them like fall apart. Like they just can't sustain the responsibilities, be adopted by the culture, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, which I think is great for you guys and great for everybody that does it. But I think it's very clear to us that that's what we're looking for. What has shocked you guys the most? I mean, I think that like when you first start getting into the industry, you have a certain vision of like, this is what my expectation of the industry is. What shocked you the most once you started working, or what has been like the most shocking experience? I'll go last, but if you guys...
I would say for me, coming into it, I really thought it was going to be more, don't get me wrong, it's fun, but it is a lot more, there's a lot more hard work that goes into all of it, a lot more communication that goes with the clients, with your team, with everything. And so I think that was the most shocking part and a lot for me to get used to. I mean, I'm a people person in general, and everybody knows that, but
everybody hear that? She's a people person.
I'm a people person, yes. But yeah, so like I didn't realize how much of people I had to deal with, because in my head, I want to be a dog trainer. I'm going to be dealing with dogs all day. And yes, I am, but I'm also dealing with people all day, every day, not just the clients, but my team and my apprentices and things like that. And so I didn't realize how much of that was going to be in it.
I mean, I'll piggyback off of that. Like, there's a lot more admin work, I would say, that I had previously anticipated. But, you know, it's just part of the job, and just being able to be flexible enough to do all the different things that are involved with being a dog trainer and having a senior role in a facility like this. Like, people count on you. That's the biggest thing. Like, people count on you to get things done. And also, I think for the dog training aspect, what was most shocking to me is, like, again, I was very green coming in here, like, when it came to training dogs. And so I didn't realize how much nuance goes into everything. You know, like, there's so many little things that you don't even think about, that I think that's what a lot of people coming into this role or coming into this facility and wanting a job here, like, they call themselves a trainer, but you look at, you know, what their previous knowledge is or what their skill set is, and you know, you just can see there's a lot more to learn. So that was kind of where I was beginning everything.
I think for me, like, if I put myself back in the shoes when I first started in the industry, I think I was kind of shocked that you can take random people and put them in a group full of dogs. I thought that was like the most shocking thing, you know, because everything else to me kind of makes sense. Like, you know, got to run a business and stuff like that. But I think what made me really commit to the industry, right around when I was your guys' age, like my mid to late 20s, you know, I kind of made the decision, like, I'm going to do dogs. I'm going to do dogs, right? And I think the biggest thing that I saw that was an issue was that it's like people can just take care of other people's dogs, like, no real questions asked. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was crazy, you know, and then 30 dogs in the play group and everything else. I'm still against that. But I think that has also laid the foundation for what I very much believe in now in terms of how you structure pet care in the next generation of pet care. It's one thing, like, thinking about it, and another thing is like, no, we got to act on it. And like, that's what I'm trying to do now, especially with education and building new facilities and how that looks and everything. And also, like, who should be running those facilities? Because I had those conversations with other people. There's a difference with someone that is going to be there at day one, and then there's a difference between that person and then the person that's going to run and operate those programs. Those are two very different people, right? Which is like the setup crew, which is a lot of like now versus that consistency that we want of the people that are running those programs and are taking equity in those partnerships. Like that's kind of what we want, is that level of consistency in what we're doing, which is different than like the hustle, let's make it successful now part of it. What do you guys think is something that you used to look at as unnecessary, but is very much necessary now that you think about?
That's a good question.
That is a very good question.
I don't know. Unnecessary, but is necessary now. I don't know.
I feel like everything that we do here is necessary.
Every generation, I feel like, tries to change something. They're like, I don't like this. This should be better, right? And I'm really against change for like entry level roles because like they're so temporary. You know, like a Tech 1, you may not be in, at the rate that we grow, you may not be in that role for the next year. So like applying changes to someone that is based on someone that's in a temporary role doesn't make any sense.
Oh, I have one. So what I thought was unnecessary before, very briefly, and I realized it was necessary, was
Muzzles on pit bulls. I'm just kidding.
that.
Okay.
But anyway, so basically having training prospects, I guess, go through all the roles in order to become a trainer. At first I was like, well, why do they have to be, and this is kind of piggybacking off what you had said, was like, why do people have to start off as a kennel tech? Why do they have to do puppies and then the older puppies? And then why do they have to do all those things in order to get to the adult dogs if that's their overall goal? And then seeing us kind of experiment and see, well, what if we didn't do that and just let people kind of come into the role that they originally asked for? We saw that it didn't work out very well because, again, there's so much nuance that goes into not only, building your skill set, but properly educating a dog and their families and things like that. It's just some people come into it thinking they have all those skills and they really don't. And so kind of going through all the trials and tribulations of everything that each individual role can offer when it comes to like the puppies, like that's what teaches you your foundational skills with the luring and making sure that your markers are correct, that you can't have, if you don't have those things, then you can't train adult dogs. So I think that's what I used to think was like, why does this have to happen? But I definitely think it has to happen now.
No, I still...
You're still blanking?
Yeah, I'm still blanking. I mean, for me, I'm a rule follower. So it's like, for me, it's like, if that's the rule, that's the rule.
I got a reason one for you. So we used to make everyone go through the Tech 1, Tech 2, Tech 3. And there was a lot of opposition with this. I mean, I think Brittany fought the battles and she's behind the scenes a lot, but Brittany's always been about whatever makes the most sense. Mm-hmm. And one of those things is like, they have to do all the levels. If you skip one, you're going to miss pieces. And there's a big gap when we started doing that because sometimes you need more trainers than you need more trainers than you currently have available. So you're almost like tempted to skip steps, right? And that's what I tell people now with some of my friends or people that we helped out with like consulting. They're like, we just, we want to do this fast. And it's like, you're going to pay the prices of that, right? You're going to have to slow down at one point. Just do it now and build infrastructure now before you start taking on more clients or, onboarding people, whatever. But I think a big one now for me is to make sure that they do the supervisor role before they come into any rotation as an apprentice. And basically it used to be Tech 1, 2, 3, and then, we select from Tech 3s because those are the most technical and skilled people with dangerous dogs and et cetera. But the reality is that they're missing the accountability part. Like you got to be accountable. You got to hold people accountable. You got to learn how to communicate, teams, organize, understand the logistics that involves. You got to understand people. Like once you're a supervisor, you start looking at people a little differently. Like, okay, I know this person's going to do this. But you also understand that if you don't communicate effectively or directly, you're going to have problems later on, misunderstandings, things that people don't like or assumed because we weren't clear enough. So that's the newest one for me. I didn't think it was necessary. I thought it was kind of stupid. Like, they don't need to do it. And this is in the last 2-3 years, right? Mm-hmm. Where I don't think it's necessary for them to do a supervisor role. But in reality, now we only pull from supervisor roles for that reason, the people reason. Mm-hmm. But Nothing.
No, nothing.
You're like always looked at everything and said, "Hey,
it
this
makes sense. Yeah, I've looked at everything.
That is true. You are like that.
Yeah, it
about
just
everything.
makes sense. Like the only thing I would say is the same thing. I never agreed with people skipping steps. Anytime it happened, I was like, all right, let's see how this works.
It never made sense that people thought it made sense to skip.
Yes,
steps.
exactly. That's what didn't make sense to me. Anytime I seen it happening, I was like, okay, let's see how this works. And then it would fail, and I'd be like, interesting.
Right.
You know?
Right. That's so funny. There was and we were talking about micromanaging the other day and just doing some reflecting about like, whether someone's micromanaging that person or not. And what I discovered is that people that complain about micromanaging is because they're doing something they're not supposed to, right? So they're always having to figure out to say something whenever. And then it came to Mariah. It's like, well, Mariah never has complained about micromanaging because she looks forward to being micromanaged because she has a yes to everything. And I did that, and I did this, and I did that, and I did this, and I did that. And I did
You're
great.
so right.
So,
All right, got it. I'll do it.
Yep, that's perfect. Yep. So it's so funny that you say that. But okay, moving on to the next questions then. When did you guys actually feel like you knew what you were doing? How far along were you like, oh, I think I know?
I think for me, it happened right after we had lost one of our managers, and me and Juliana were kind of like had to come up and
Or
lead.
when we refused to hire another one. We're like, we're not doing that.
Yeah,
We're
when we lost that original manager, and then it was just you and Juliana. You guys have to make it work here.
Yeah.
And so like once that happened, and once we got into the groove of that, and I was managing and supervising a team, I realized how much I actually enjoyed being in charge and making sure things run well, and then working with the dogs, of course. So I think that's when for me it all kind of clicked. And I think we had a meeting one time, and you had asked me, Mariah, where do you see yourself in a couple of years from now? And I was like, I think I see myself wanting to run my own department. And then the rest is history. But
Yeah.
Cool.
I think for me, it happened a little bit later. I think with this past like year, I felt really comfortable
Yeah.
and confident in my role just because, I don't know, just my personality at the time, and I think still now, is just very like self-deprecating of like, am I really cut out to do this? I mean, I still stuck with it and I'm still here, but I think that it was just more so like I knew confidently what I wanted to do. I guess more so it was just feeling confident being in that role and feeling like I know what I'm doing. And obviously there's still a lot to learn. There always is. But feeling like I am not just talking the talk, I'm walking the walk, you know? But yeah, I would say within the past year for me.
Yeah. Everyone's very different. And I think what I see on my side of things is how the tides change all the time. Like the tide rises, it drops, it changes. It does mainly because I think it's a growing industry and we are trying to, I don't want to say be the standard. I don't think we're trying to be the standard. I think that the standard historically has been so low in the industry. Like it has just been so low in terms of processes, procedures, everything. Even big private equity companies or firms that buy companies and they're trying to structure them. Like when I got to be in my 30s and I started involving myself with like things outside, we realized that, oh shit, I think a lot of people don't know what they're doing. And I think because we stuck it out for so long, we have some pretty good insights on how to structure things. But everyone's different. And so like what you're experiencing specifically in your department is that like as soon as there's a new practice or as soon as like there's a new process, as soon as there's a better way to do things, because you guys are in leading roles, you will have to be like, crap, well now we have to rise to meet that standard because
Moving the goalposts.
It's just necessary, right? There are some goalposts that just don't need to be moved. I mean, there are, in terms of like, I think some things in daycare and boarding don't need to change so much. I think some of the earlier starting apprentices, like what they need to learn first and what they need to develop and like their background, those things don't need to change. I think we're getting pretty close to not changing that. But everything else, yeah. I mean, especially in the training teams or structuring training teams where, we are also the amount of time that a person spends in a role also determines what they're able to contribute long term, which then also makes them create change on themselves, right? Like after a while, after so many years of doing the same thing, you're gonna be like, I think this is a better process than that. And then as soon as you discover a better process, you're just like implementing it. So this is why I've always felt this place has been a bit of a school. Like I think the whole campus here is actually a giant school, our new facilities are a business. And the reason I say that is because new facilities are laid out with the best optimized floor plans, with the best models, with the things thought ahead. Like they're like, cool, this is like working with investors to create revenue, making sure the trainers are happy, everybody's taken care of, and like this is a sustainable investment that people can make in their careers. But everything here was development. I mean, this is like HQ, right? This is where everything happens. So everything here has been more of a school now. I think it was like 31 where I finally knew like, okay, I've been training for a long time. I think I know what I'm doing. I'm confident in it. And now I'm just going to 10X it. But to hear you guys be that young and say like, I feel confident doing it, that's huge. What about with the clients? When did you feel confident working with the clients?
I think when I started feeling confident working with the clients had to be maybe a year into being in the training office. So that was probably a year and a half to 2 years working in Found, I think is when I started. And that's just because I was being trusted into doing private lessons or shadowing private lessons and being observed doing private lessons and things like that. Yeah, I think that's when for me.
I'd say about the same because I think a lot of it was to the management we had at the time left us up to our own devices of trying to figure it out. And I think for us, it really worked out because we're kind of good under pressure and kind of like figuring out things as they come our way. So I would say about the same, maybe a year into, being in the training office, because working in Pup Start and everything like that, I didn't really have to do much with interacting with clients at all. But in the training office, that's why it's a big goal for a lot of the people who work here to be in the training office, because that's like the epitome of what it is to be a trainer. Like you're training dogs, you're working with clients, you're doing the group classes, you're doing all this stuff. But yeah, I'd say about the same. Yeah.
2 years. Yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not like, some people go to dog training school for like a couple of months and they come out and they're like, well, I'm ready to talk to people.
Yeah. And for me, I think the reason why it also took me so long is because that first, and it goes back to what Juliana was saying, is like we were kind of left to our own devices with the management that we had at the time. So it was like, here you're in the training office. I'm going to shadow you for a little bit, show you a little bit, and then I have to deal with my own clients and do it. So you have to kind of figure it out for yourself. So for me, it took me a while. I was just kind of going through the motions, but not really processing the why. So like if you don't know the why, you can't talk to clients because the clients are going to ask you why. Like, why are you doing this? Why does this make sense? And so once I learned and understood the why, it became easier for me to talk to clients and not feel like I was
faking it till you make it.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
That's why I think it took me so long, which is why for me, and Fabian will tell me this all the time, is that I kind of baby the apprentices a little too much, but it's because little me wish I got a little bit babied in the beginning because I didn't understand half of the things that I was being asked to do with the dogs.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure my apprentices do understand the whys and all the stuff.
And I think that's what's probably the most challenging about the industry is that, oh my God, the amount of everyone needs help that happens is huge. Like everyone needs help, like, hey, I don't know what to do with this dog, or hey, I don't know how to fix this problem. That's just like in the training side. But when it comes down to like the overall industry standard, there is just like no help whatsoever. So I think it's like creating the help was a big first step, but I'm also concerned that if we make things too easy, we're not going to get Mariahs and Julianas anymore.
Yeah,
you see what I'm
true.
saying? Like, that's just the reality. There is like a thing that I thought about most recently about coaching, because really I feel like I spend a lot of time coaching people, and you guys do as well. But the thing that I used to say was, as a coach, I can't believe in you more than you believe in yourself, right? And I would say that a lot. And I think I want to change my mind on that. It's actually the opposite. I need to believe in someone way more than they believe themselves, because that's the point of coaching. Like someone that comes in with no experience, that is struggling with something, et cetera. My job is to make it adequately hard enough for them to grow into what I know they can grow for, right? Because when you train so many people and train dogs for a long time, you start developing this feel of like, I know what that person can do. And I know that there's probably more personal things holding them back, or beliefs about themselves that has nothing to do with dogs. And that's why they're not performing, right? So a lot of the times looking at the history in pet care, being a person that it's like, I'm short. I got to close with 3 people and I have to check out 80 dogs and then we have to potty another 40 dogs, right? Like my standard was like, if my standard when I got into the industry was if you had 40 dogs to potty that day, it was a slow day and you do it by yourself, right? So like, 40 dogs to potty at the end of the night, no big deal. You can do it yourself, right? And then I would get 3, 4 dogs, take them outside and like, just do like groups of 5. And that's where I learned to walk dogs in a lot of leashes and these things. So the environment is what creates the skill. Like when I see someone like scrub a kennel and like, I could tell the kennel's like kind of clean, but they're scrubbing it anyway. I love that because that means that the standard is so high specifically for them that they're never going to have an issue with that, right? Cleanliness is never going to be an issue for that person. But the environment definitely builds the people. I mean, later on, it went to people being able to transport 3 or 4 dogs at a time, earlier stages with found, right? And then eventually changed. Now they can only do 1 dog, right? So like, but all of those things, they're allowing for more people to succeed, but we're also maybe not getting the same out, right? The same output. And that's what my biggest concern is because like most of the tech levels and everything that we do are really phases of my career. Like I remember I worked daycare and boarding for 4 years. Like it was just daycare and boarding 4 years. And then one day I was cleaning out a really gross kennel. And I remember thinking like, I was like, what, 19, 20 years old? And I was like, I think I want to get into something else in the industry because I feel like I'm bored now. Like I've done it, right? It's like, I'm not like, it's just, I don't see where I'm going. Then I got into training and I sucked as a trainer for a long time. Then we discovered that the gap, and this is kind of props to you guys, that we discovered because of you guys, that the gap between a tech and an apprentice trainer was so huge that a lot of people couldn't make that leap, right? A lot of people, they're like, hey, I'm ready for that training role or that apprentice role. And then the apprentice requirement is so high that people can't meet it. And then you have people dropping like flies, like, they can't meet the requirements. So now we double down where we're just teaching apprentice stuff to like entry-level people to increase the chances of them succeeding. But I think that to some degree, by making things easier, we rob people of the grit that it actually takes to be successful, right? I mean, there's like a balance to that. But to some degree, you got to keep certain positions generally pretty hard on purpose.
Yeah. And I can attest to the fact that making mistakes within reason helps you learn and helps you grow.
Right.
And, if everything's just handed to you, then when it comes down to when things get really hard and really rough because there's no way around it, you panic and you can't deal with it. So I think you're totally right. There has to be some level of like challenge and throwing somebody in the deep end and seeing if they can swim or are they going to sink.
And that was kind of interesting because I've discovered the differences between like a selection process versus a weeding out process, right? And I think for a big portion of the years when we ran the company we were growing it, we were doing a kind of like a weed out process, right? We were just selecting the people that were willing to stick around. But the people that are willing to stick around don't ultimately have the best intentions. Sometimes they could be low performers that like just stick around because they have nowhere else to go.
Yep.
And then there's a difference between that and then having a selection process, which now it's like, I mean, Mariah chases people down with like, we got to do your Tech 1 assessment. You did your online course. Now you're doing your hands-on portion. Now you're doing your Tech 2, et cetera. But essentially, now there's a selection process because we have measurable KPIs that we can say, hey, that person scored or didn't score. They got their 90% or they didn't get their 90%. It is 90% to pass a Tech 1, right? You have to do...
Yeah, because it's so easy.
It's so easy.
It's so easy, 90%.
And if you can't get a 90% long term, we think that's an issue for the industry, right? But I think that's all of this has come from all of the experimentation that we've done. And there's some companies out there that maybe have put into place, or there's other softwares and training companies that essentially are going to be direct competitors to, or are direct competitors to the Dog Tribe Academy. But I think that within the next year, we'll have people that will be paid to be full-time students versus like paying to be students. And I think, because I think the industry needs it, but also you can have higher standards, right? Be here on time, do your coursework. You can select people via more optimized processes that don't involve so much time, but instead of taking the time to teach those specific things, and we'll see how that turns out, right? hopefully we don't go back to like the question of what did we think was unnecessary, but it actually is quite necessary, right? Well, it turns out you shouldn't pay people to be full-time students because unless they're really top performers. Like there's a lot to learn specifically about this industry. And I think looking into now you guys in leadership positions in the programs, what has changed for you when you went from like an apprentice to a leader in what you're doing? Like how do you see your role differently than what you did when you were part of a team versus now leading a team?
I would say for me, it would be more so. I mean, I feel like I've always been good at being a leader, but I haven't been always good at hurting somebody's feelings. So I think that is a big change for me. Like holding people, like I've held people accountable, but to the point of where I really have to get it into their heads, like, hey, you need to stop messing around and get this done. Like I think that's still pretty big on me. Or a big change for me because I'm a people pleaser. So like even if they're under me, I still want to make sure they're feeling good. And if they're not feeling good, then I feel bad. And so having that shift of it's okay to make them feel bad because it's going to make them better is the biggest change for me, I would say.
Yeah, and I would say making them feel bad or
but with good intention.
Yeah, or like I would say giving them feedback, right?
Yeah.
I would say that not everyone's the same, and sometimes you rob people of the experience that's going to make them better because for selfish reasons, like you don't want to feel bad, so therefore you don't deliver the feedback that is necessary, which ultimately robs them because you want to feel good. You see what I'm saying? And so I've taken that answer so many times. I mean, I've done that personally so many times, and ultimately comes to like, as you guys have seen, like big abrupt changes because like things aren't delivered. It's like I'm like the last minute person, like, God damn it, now we have to do this thing because I didn't do it that
First time,
the first time ago or years ago or whatever, right? Yes, I completely understand where you're coming from, but I think it's important to be direct. How about you, Jules?
I was going to say making sure that I'm providing, I think it's kind of the same thing, but maybe from a different perspective of providing apprentices with the proper education and feedback and making sure that I'm actually giving them the information they need to actually grow. Because I've also kind of learned how to do like the whole, management compliment sandwich thing of like, you did this really great. You did this really great.
A shit sandwich, is that what you're talking about?
Well, you did this really great. Work on this and then end it with something they also did really well. I think that's something that I, take to heart like really easily. Like I want to make sure that people don't feel discouraged when they make mistakes, but also making sure that they know that they made a mistake and how to grow from it, and just make sure that I'm not just being like, nope, yep, you did a good job, move along.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world, basically.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say pretty similar in that role or in that experience.
All right.
Yeah.
What is your individual's standard that you won't compromise on? Like, what is one thing that you will not accept? What is the thing?
I would say not being passionate in working as a team. I feel like that's like one of my biggest thing. Like if you're just thinking about yourself, that drives me insane. Like people that are like, I only care about training the dogs. Like I can care less about you, or I only care about building myself up as a person or as a trainer and not really thinking about the people around you. I think that's like my biggest thing. Because I'm pretty much a team, like I'm a really big team player, and I think this facility works good because
team player.
We're team player.
Who are they? Because they gotta go. I'm just kidding. No, I don't think anyone is like that right now. I think everybody's good. We scare bad people away most of the time.
We try.
Yeah. I would say people who are not willing to like step out of their comfort zone within reason. Like people who are very stuck. Like I've seen that happen with people who are no longer here anymore. They would just be like, they've been here for years, and then they were like, okay, now it's time to do the next thing. And they're like, no, I can't do it. Or with people who are just wanting to do one portion of the role and not the rest of it. And a lot of that comes down to like people they think this job is about being around dogs all the time, when a large majority of it, maybe more so, is about also interacting with the people who own these dogs.
Right.
Because this isn't a shelter. All these dogs have owners, they have families. And so you have to make sure that you are also meeting their needs and their standards and communicating effectively with them.
That's like such a selfish thing to do. Like if you get into pet care because you want to be around dogs because dogs make you happy, and you like that is, look at what you're saying, right? It's about you. It's like not about taking care of the animals, not about providing a good service, not about That's the thing that drove me crazy about rescue, was more or less like, do we all want to fix this problem, or do we want to just talk about it, right? What do you expect from your clients? Like when you guys are working with clients, what are the things that you expect them to have to be successful in the programs with you guys?
I would say for me,
Or what are the qualities that the most successful clients have?
the ones that understand how much money they're paying, because there's some people that think that they could just throw money at this issue and it's going to get fixed. But I really appreciate the clients that understand how much money this is, and they're willing to take advantage of all the support that is provided with all the money that they're spending on this, right? So all the videos and all the private lessons, all the group lessons, like all that. The ones that actually do their homework, because I have a lot of clients that like, oh, you put videos up? Well, I haven't seen that in weeks. And then I have other ones that are like, I just uploaded it maybe 2 hours ago, and they're already telling me, oh, I watched that video already. Like that. Those are my favorite kind of clients, because you can see it in the dogs never lie to me, right? So the dogs will tell me if you're doing your homework, and those are the clients that I would say make me feel like I'm doing a great job here.
I was gonna say almost the exact same thing. Like, just clients coming into this knowing that they are also participants in their dog's journey, and that at the end of the day, their dog lives with them full time, and that, you know, the expectation for their dog just to be fully trained and be sent back to them and not need any maintenance, that's not a realistic expectation to have. And that the money that they're spending with us is, to your point, like not only to build the blueprint for what their dog will need in order to progress, but all the ongoing support. You know, like we are here for you and your family and your dog, not just during the program, but afterwards.
Yeah, it's really interesting that you say blueprint, because I don't think anyone's referred to it like that recently, or that I can remember. But yeah, there's a massive blueprint that has to be laid out before you can even train an animal, right? Like, do they understand certain core concepts? Do you guys have people that sometimes want to skip the blueprint and then just like
All the
focus?
time.
How do you address that?
Well, it's hard. It's I think for at least for my puppies right now, the owners really see it in group class, right?
Yeah.
They'll come in, they'll
Peer
be like,
pressure.
yeah, they'll be like, oh, my dog knows sit down. They know all that stuff already. Is there any way that they can skip the process, because I know they know this already?
Right.
And then as soon as they come into group class, their puppy's the puppy that's not listening, pulling at the end of the line, doing X, Y, and Z, and they realize why it's so important for us to really stick to the curriculum and focus on the really minor details of their engagement, their luring, their
Right.
markers, and all that good stuff. So, yeah.
I think it's a little bit different for me, just because the adult dogs don't really participate much in group class while they're currently enrolled in one of our board and trains or daycare and trainings or anything like that, unless, you know, it's on a Saturday, but whatever. But I do think that it's really one of those things where I have to just I have to like remind them of why they're here in the first place, because a lot of it's more of the dogs that I deal with and the owners that I deal with are coming from a place of they're adults who have had a long time to rehearse a lot of unwanted behaviors and
Right.
a lot of things that they're trying to fix.
Years of life. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, in a nice way, of course, asking them like, hey, remember why you're here, right? Your dog attacks other dogs. Your dog, you know, goes after people who come into the house, like all these things. And so it's important that if your dog isn't able to complete or do the things you're asking them to do under lower criteria or lower distraction or anything like that, then how are they possibly going to be able to do these things when they're struggling the most?
Right.
And so just saying that if we don't have a solid communication system, when we're not competing with all these different things, then we're not going to have it when you're actually trying to unteach a lot of deeply ingrained behaviors.
Right.
You know?
Have you guys ever had clients that you thought about, like, maybe you would fire them if you had a choice, or you think, yeah?
A couple.
Yeah.
A couple.
Oh, yeah. But
Do you guys feel like I hold you back sometimes? You're like, oh my God, Fabian's never going to like kick this person out. So,
I would say that
because we still haven't done it yet, right?
No, I don't think so. But I think that we have made accommodations
Yes.
to make sure that the clients they think they're getting what they want out
Right.
of this.
We
And
gaslight them into thinking
I
that.
think so. I mean, we've also like maybe this will be put it in or not, but I've had dealt with a couple sexist clients
Oh, yeah,
who don't
yeah,
really
we
want to
talked about
take
this.
instruction from women. And so it's one of those things where like they already spent the money. And so let's not just take me out of the picture completely, but have somebody in the room who he will take
like
seriously.
the guy we went to see.
Yeah, who he will take seriously and just repeat the exact same thing that I said and make it so that way I also feel validated in what I'm saying and the client thinks that they're getting what they need out of it.
Yeah. He was fine after that visit.
He
right?
was fine. Yeah, he was fine. And then afterwards, he came back one more time and then listened to everything I had to say because apparently, if my boss says it, it makes sense.
I know.
Say it.
And that's a really real thing that you guys experience too, because Brittany would experience it all the time. And then it's like, it's very unfortunate, but it does happen a lot. And people that say it doesn't, it's very real.
We have it happen with apprentices too all the time.
Oh my God, yes. Yeah. Dudes, what are they doing? These dudes, they're not... there should be. I have a whole podcast of grabbing just things that I see, like the guys in the dog world
in the industry. Yeah,
man.
Just the basic things. Like, you guys have moms growing up. What did you guys? What happened to you guys? What did they do to you? Either your mom loved you too much or didn't love you at all.
Yeah,
There's like no middle ground, really. Okay, cool. So let's talk about let's wrap things up. I wanted to ask a couple questions, some advice that you guys can give other people. What would you tell someone? What is your number one piece of advice telling someone that is looking to join the team at the tech level or wanting to be an apprentice?
Be patient. That's like my biggest piece of advice is like people come into the role and they're given the spiel from the get-go of like, hey, you have to go through these steps in order to get to your ultimate goal of being a trainer, blah, 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 blah. And I don't think people take into consideration like all the other factors that are preventing them from getting there as fast as they want to.
Right.
So like they come in like, I'm going to do this for a month and then I'm going to be a trainer. I'm going to be doing all the things that all the trainers are doing and so on and so forth. And I mean, maybe it's not as long as a wait that I had to go through, but I had to wait like 2 years before becoming a trainer or training apprentice. And it's one of those things where if you really want it, you'll understand that you have to go through the difficult things or the things that you don't necessarily want to do in order to get to that. So just be patient and, do the thing. Just do the thing.
I would say for me, keep a positive attitude.
Yep.
I think that's like the biggest thing. I see a lot of the times the reason why people don't succeed within the industry or even within our work environment here is they have a sucky attitude. So if you have a sucky attitude, your day's going to be,
right.
You're not going to have a good day any day. So I think that's what's helped me in working here is just always having a positive attitude and that
I've seen Mariah in the worst conditions too, where she's got a
sweating.
really,
hey guys,
like sweaty with like I don't know what you call it, disgruntled hair. It was like early COVID. It was really everyone was sick.
Well, we got sick.
Everyone's
Everyone
sick.
got the flu.
There was like COVID and the flu, and everyone was sick. And there was like during COVID times, Mariah's got this really baggy training vest that doesn't fit her, and you get your mask, and the mask is kind of lopsided. And then she's like, yep, I'm having a great day.
I'm having a great day. We're
I'm
getting
looking
it
at this
done.
person and I'm like, there's no way this person's having a great day. There's just no way.
No, but we had to. You gotta stick it through. The only way you can get through is with a smile on your face.
Right.
Someone had always asked me that, Mariah, why are you always smiling? That's my coping mechanism. That's how I get through the day. I gotta smile.
You're never gonna know with Mariah.
maybe that's not as realistic for everybody else. But
No, it's not. No, I don't think it's not. There's a level of
No.
But what's your favorite thing to say is culture. Culture is the biggest thing. Like I hear you say that all the time. You're the only person I've ever heard like talk about like the culture of the community or the facility that you're within. Like if everybody else around you has a shitty attitude, of course you're gonna have one too.
Right.
How can you not?
Yeah, nobody wants to hear people complain. As soon as you say culture, I'm like, dude, nobody likes complainers. Nobody likes complainers. And it's not, maybe my dad, I grew up and my dad's like, stop complaining, no complaining. And he would call me over and say, I'm going to give you feedback about this, and I don't want you to say anything. I just want you to say okay after the end of the conversation, and I want you to implement it. I don't know if that was abuse or not. He's too old now. I'm too old to claim that, but I'm too old to claim that. But to some degree, you are what you think about. You are what you think about, right? If you think things are going to go well, they're going to go well, even if they start at a dip, and then they're going to come up and they're going to do well. I've seen it over and over again. If you can just share those experiences that when you look at people and you say, hey, this is really important, they're only going to take it as face value, right? They're never going to really understand that, hey, it's important to be positive. In this industry, it's really important to be positive because think about the situations Jules has been in. You get some like dogs that come in and they bit their owners and they're a bite risk here. Like really everything is about everyone else, especially in the way we do it in the training office or in the training teams. Like everything is about the owner and the dog and the success. It's not about us. It's not about like how we feel. So if you're often a person that needs to go home and say your battery erodes day after day, like some people go to sleep and they wake up and they're like, I have the same energy I did yesterday. If that doesn't happen for you, I think it's going to be very hard for you to give every day. Because think about it. You have to give to the owners. You have to give to the clients. You have to give to your team. You have to give to the dogs. You have to give to everywhere. It's all about giving, right? You're giving your energy away. You're talking, you're communicating, especially in this industry of care, that if you don't have that natural battery that's just going to like charge up every night you go to bed, it will slowly erode your ability to succeed and to do the work. I think, and I think that's what you're talking about with culture. There are just certain things that we know are true that we make really hard rules on them so that people will follow them. About one of them is positivity. I mean, if you ask anybody in the team member, do you like when people complain? No, they're going to say no. And often the people who say no are also the people that do the complaining, and so you have to call them out. Okay, you don't like complaining, so you have to stop complaining, right? Have you ever picked up on that before? No? Well, we got to work on that. But those are the things. I would say if I was going to give the advice to like people looking to join our team or start a similar team to that is, it sounds crazy, but just do what you're told. Just do what you're told. I mean, I can't say that. I mean, some of the people that are like in training positions now, it's like, just do what you're told. It sounds crazy, but it's like, that's really what it is. Like, we're teaching you about dogs. We're teaching you how to train dogs. We're teaching you the things that are important in this industry. If you start doing things that are off spec and like off to your preference, you're no longer learning the craft, right? You're no longer learning how to do certain things. If you're like, hey, we're going to charge markers and we're going to lure this way, and you're like, well, I like to lure this way, you're no longer learning, right? And the big thing about mentorship, and I'll leave it at that on my part before we have some last minute questions, is in order to learn from someone, you have to understand that you have less experience and less knowledge. That is fundamentally, right? In order for someone to be a good mentor, they need to understand and have a relationship that there is something to gain from training this person and developing this person. So like, if you look at your team member and say, hey, I could tell that you will be an effective trainer on our team, therefore you are worth the investment of mentorship, that on their side and their perspective should be like, I don't really know what they know, and I'm just happy to take it in. If you don't have that dynamic, they're not going to learn, and it's going to be a bad fit, right? They're not going to learn. You're going to clash. And so that fundamentally is something that needs to happen, specifically in team or something in an industry that's so skill-based. Like, you must understand that you do not know what you think you know, and we will reteach you. And I think that's harder for people that have gone to schools and have some sort of experience in the background. We're like, no, I have all this experience. Okay, but we have a completely different ecosystem, and we cannot guarantee your success unless you check off all of our boxes. If the first part of being a good team member is coming in and saying, hey, what do you need me to do? How do I best fit into what you need is here? And then things can evolve from there. But cool. We're going to wrap up the podcast. But before we do, we have a couple of rapid fire questions for each one of you guys. Okay. I don't even know if I can read these that fast. All right, here we go. Mariah first. What is your favorite breed to work?
I would say pity.
Pity. Hardest behavior to fix?
Separation anxiety.
Most underused tool?
Toys.
That's a good
That
one.
was a
That was
good one. Oh, you thought
That's a
about
good
this
one.
one. Mariah's an expert, everyone. This is proof right here. Preference of command to teach, place, or recall?
Ooh, recall.
Okay. All right, good. All right, Juliana, next. Favorite breed to work?
Pit bulls.
Of course. Hardest behavior to fix?
Resource guarding.
That is very hard to fix, right? People don't think about that.
Can't fix it. You can manage it.
Most underused tool?
Freedom.
Wow, you guys are smart.
That's a good one.
That's smart. We have a smart team here. You guys are more interesting than anybody I've talked to on this podcast.
Uh-oh.
They're going to be like, Fabian, you never published my podcast. Like, I know. There's a reason. Place or recall?
Recall.
Recall. Yeah. You like recall.
Yep.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, listen, thanks for being on the podcast. And thanks for everybody listening. And we look forward to having Mariah and Juliana on the podcast more often, along with a couple other team members that we'll introduce. So part of having the Dog Tribe podcast is involving the people that are part of Dog Tribe. So hopefully we'll have you guys back on here soon.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you guys soon.